Most youth ministry podcasts are made by youth leaders and used to share their ideas on how to engage with the next generation of youth ministry.
Here at the Mountain Sky Conference of the United Methodist Church, we're going straight to young people themselves to find out what they want from the church.
Like the prophets of the Bible, it is our hope that the voices of our young people will help inspire the church to better adapt to serve the now generation.
This is Mountain Sky Prophets.
My name is Courtney Von Lindern.
And I'm Amanda Daniel. And this is episode 3 of the Mountain Sky Prophets. This morning we have a special guest with us. I'd like to introduce Sheridan from Montana. Sheridan, would you like to say anything else about yourself or tell us anything else?
Well, right now I just moved to Great Falls, and I am a sophomore at Great Falls High School, and I'm also 16, and I am part of their soccer team.
Thank you.
How's that soccer season going for you so far?
We've had some wins, we've had some losses, but it's just really weird with COVID and all of that because we're supposed to wear masks and all of it. And I know it's just really hard for some people, especially if it's the first time they've seen those people since this all started. But we've gotten in routine, we have it down, and it's worth wearing the mask if we get our season, so.
Wow, so are you required to wear your mask while you're playing?
No, we're just having to wear them, like, wherever we go, we wear them, unless we're on the field playing, so, yeah.
Has that inhibited your soccer skills at all? I mean, I guess you're not wearing the mask on the field, so probably not, but.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Awesome. So Sheridan, on this podcast, as we do with others, we tend to just kind of have normal conversations, ask everybody, what's your experience with church like, especially as a young person in the world today. And I know your mom is a pastor, so I'm sure you might have a little bit of a different experience with church than some other folks that we've talked to so far on this podcast. So I'm wondering, would you be willing to kind of share what's church like for you? What's it like growing up as a pastor's kid in this kind of context?
Yeah, well, at first it was kind of a struggle because I had to move around, and it was just different for me because I was really not prepared for it. As I have grown up with it, it's just, I don't know, I've gotten used to it and I've really enjoyed it, especially just getting that extra sense of community in church and just being more involved, honestly.
And what are some of the places you've lived since you've been a pastor kid?
Well, I used to live in Great Falls, actually, and then I moved to Aurora, Colorado because my mom was getting her degree to become a pastor. And then after that, we moved to Columbia Falls, and I've been there for the past 5 years. So the biggest transition was really just moving back to Great Falls because then I left all my friends, and it was just really hard, especially during this time.
Yeah, I imagine moving at your junior year of high school can be a real challenge. I mean, I think it's a challenge already. I know I didn't move when I was growing up, but I know plenty of kids who did, and just kind of having to make new connections, new friendships, things like that. And I can't imagine what it's like trying to make friends in a new school right now in COVID. And I guess you already said it's kind of been hard, but what's that like? I mean, you're in-person classes, right?
So the school has it all set up really odd, but it makes sense. So we have certain hallways that are used only for going one ways, so it would help minimize the spread. Everyone's supposed to wear their mask, and also in the classrooms we try to spread out as much as we can, but unfortunately we can't all stay 6 feet apart. So when my school has actually had a few positive cases, and when they did get tested positive, there had to be a lot of contact tracing. So the nurse worked extra hard And we even had 2 days off of school to go remote just for contact tracing to get in touch with everyone. So it's just been really odd, but I know like the teachers are putting in extra work, especially because they're doing remote classes at the same time as online classes. And honestly, just everyone at the school is working extra hard to make sure everyone's getting what they need.
So, and what is the strangest thing about having to wear masks all the time?
Well, honestly, to me, the strangest thing is just not being able to see someone's face. Because, like, all I can see is, like, their eyes and their hair, and that's it. I don't even know what they look like. I just know what their eyes look like or what their hair looks like.
Right. When I was at the doctor, the nurses have their name tags so you can see their face, but all you can see is their eyes. And it's like, oh, so that's what you look like.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the strangest things about all this. I know my partner and I have been out on walks before and have ran into people that like we'll wear a mask usually when we're outside, but we'll run into people who somehow like recognize just like eyes up and they're like acquaintances that we haven't seen forever. So I imagine at school it's probably extra weird, especially when you've like just moved back there. And I don't know if you have as many connections still in Great Falls as you did before, but yeah, if you're trying to like get to know your classmates and build relationships, it's like just building a relationship with half a face, and I'm sure that's different for sure.
Yeah, I know the teachers really struggle with it just because they can't talk as loud, so they like talk like over everything. And even when someone's just trying to answer a question in class, you can barely hear them. It just sounds like a bunch of mumbles.
So Sheridan, obviously going to school, playing soccer, being preacher's kid, all that I'm sure has its own challenges and things like that. And also going to school in COVID, in person. I do all of my school online, so I don't know what it's like to try to navigate in-person classes. These all feel like big challenges in some capacity facing you and your generation. But are there other challenges that you think that your generation is facing in particular that you think more people need to know about?
Well, I think just when I think of what we're struggling with at the moment, I just automatically think of COVID and all of that. And it's not just my generation, but it's all generations. And I just know that it's a lot to deal with, especially since we're just being restricted of what we normally have been able to do. And just knowing that we might not be able to go back to those things, it's just scary for all of us.
How do you think we're going to come out of this? Like what's your hope in all this? Like where do you see God working even?
I hope that we come out stronger, more understanding, and just knowing that we have all these things that we take for granted and we're so privileged. And honestly, that's what this has made me realize. It made me realize how much I had and how much I still do have. And it just makes me feel like now that we all know this, now that we've seen what it's like living a different life, hopefully we come back and realize not everyone gets those opportunities. And now that we have those, we come back stronger.
I like that. Yeah. I think when this first started, we were all, oh, that's going to mess up our vacation. Oh, that's going to mess up all our plans. But wow, yeah, to stop and think about how privileged we all are.
Yeah, I know, like, when we first did this and when I first went online with classes, I was like, oh, sweet, just an extra week of spring break. Yeah, and then all of it just went downhill from there. And it was honestly really hard because we didn't get any of those social connections that we got in school. All we had was just online.
What was that like for you trying to transition from moving from Columbia Falls to Great Falls? Because this happened right before you moved, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it was really difficult for me. Like I had a lot of struggle. Luckily I got to see my friends right before I moved, just like for the one last time. And then moving to Great Falls, it was just like I didn't have any friends. I was lonely for like a month. And then finally soccer started, and that's really when I just started becoming more happy and becoming more myself, because I got to have those extra connections. I got to know a few more people. And then shortly after that, school started, so I got to meet some more people, and just from there, it's just gotten so much better.
I'm glad to hear that. And I know that kind of isolation and lack of connection is something that I think a lot of people are experiencing through this. And I'm curious, was there, prior to soccer starting, things like that, were there things that kind of helped ease that burden a little bit for you? Like, I know that can be a really hard place to be in, but were there things that you turned to kind of help get through it?
Yeah, actually, so during all that, my youth group was still meeting on Zoom, and we met every Wednesday just for an hour. But that hour just, I don't know, it just gave me hope and made me feel more connected with everyone. It made me realize that I'm not alone. There's still everyone else that's dealing with this. And we talked about what we took for granted. We talked about how it's not going to be normal and this is the new norm. And just having those conversations with my youth group, it just made me feel so much better and just realize I'm not the only one going through all this.
I know lots of folks are doing online youth group, and I think Amanda and I have heard kind of mixed reviews from youth leaders about whether or not it's been beneficial. And so I'm glad that that's something that was positive for you. And I'm wondering also then, what's it like doing youth group on Zoom? And do you think that that's something that should continue, or how would you recommend youth leaders navigate getting people together during this time?
Well, I guess there's, like, personally, I guess I have mixed reviews with it too. But it's better than nothing, honestly. And it's what some kids need. Like, I know I needed it. It's obviously not the same as doing youth group in person. It's not as meaningful. You couldn't get as many like connections with others, but you still get to talk and just check in with each other. And I think that's more important um than just talking about what you normally, I don't know, just talking about the curriculum in youth group. Checking in and making sure everyone's doing okay is much more important than that. So that's what I personally enjoyed with it. I know that like it's different for everyone. Like my mom had hosted a Zoom meeting for the Great Falls Church for a youth group, but it's weird because we currently don't have a youth leader. So it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just different. And I personally couldn't join it because I had soccer going on, and I know a few other kids couldn't join it because they had other conflicting things going on. But from what I've heard overall, like everyone really enjoyed it. They just like checking in, seeing each other's faces, even though if it was just through a screen.
Yeah, I think that was something that started off really cool. And we all thought, we're only going to have to do this a couple weeks, or well, now we're going to have to do it a couple months. And then, here we are.
Sheridan, what's been some of your favorite activities? So like you check in on youth group Zoom, but have there been other activities and things that you guys have done that have worked well that you've enjoyed doing?
Most of my time has just been homework, unpacking boxes, that kind of stuff. But I guess my family always eats dinner together, so that's always helpful just because we check in with each other at dinner, see how everyone's doing, you know, have weird conversations because that's just how family dinners go.
So were you and your family able to do anything like take a trip or go anywhere this summer?
Well, we mostly focused our summer on moving, which was like kind of unfortunate, but it's what we did. But we did get to see my grandparents because we actually moved a lot closer to them. They live like an hour and a half away now, so it's like not too bad. We just drive out to the farm, spend some time there.
That's awesome. It's always good to hang out with grandparents, and it's nice to have that much space to roam around in too. So Sheridan, in thinking about everything that's going on in the world and the way we're all responding to it, I know you mentioned that, there's a lot of things that I think we all took for granted, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I am always looking back at the things that I took for granted prior to COVID happening in our world. But as we kind of move with everything else going on in our world, how do you think the church is responding to some of the issues that are arising? And are you pleased with the church's response, or do you think there's something better the church can be doing?
Well, I know like a bunch of churches have been doing online. I know my church has been doing online church. And for what we have, it's good. It's not necessarily enough though. I think when the point where it would be enough is when we go back in person, when all of this is better, or even just doing something outside, social distancing and like wearing masks. But for now, it's okay. I know not everyone has that online resource though, so that's where it's kind of problematic. My mom, I know she got a grant to help get tablets for everyone and have like internet access for them so they can join in on those online Sunday morning worships. So overall, it's okay, but I feel like we could be doing better. I'm not sure what exactly would make it better, but I feel like there's something else we can do.
So will each church member get a tablet to take home, and that's how they can zoom in or connect with the service? Is that what?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's not every church member, it's just the people that don't have access. Either they don't have like a tablet or a laptop or a phone to join the like Sunday morning worship. It just goes to the people that don't have that and don't have internet.
That is really cool.
That's an awesome resource. I know that's an obstacle that many people face, and I think it's something that we didn't really think about before moving into this. So,
Right, nothing like a global pandemic to push us all technologically into the 21st century.
if we were behind before, we might as well not be now. So Sheridan, as we start to kind of wrap up our conversation, there's a lot of generational differences between folks, between different generations. And I'm curious, do you think that there's one thing that older generations have gotten wrong about your generation that you'd like to correct or let them know about?
Like, we're young, yes, but I just don't think they see us at like the same level as they see themselves, and I think that's just because we're young. But honestly, we've gone through so much in our lifetimes. Like, we're just as valuable, we're just as strong. And yeah, we don't have as many experiences, so we don't have all this wisdom. We do make mistakes, but overall we are getting there, and we are strong. So yeah.
I think that's well put. I think sometimes we put a little too much emphasis on, the older you are, the smarter, the wiser you are. Like, yes, you've had more lived experiences, and yes, that will influence the wisdom that you carry with yourself. But I know that for myself, more often than not, I'm usually inspired by your generation and the drive all of you have and just how informed you are. I think I said this on our last episode. I'm not as informed at that age as the rest of y'all.
I know, as I'm blown away by how connected you guys are with what's going on in the world and with politics and all these different issues. And I think back when I was in high school, I think did a mock election and I voted. And that was about it.
And now y'all are like phone banking and texting and volunteering for campaigns and initiatives, and it's just pretty incredible to see that level of involvement at your age. So I would agree. Y'all are smart. You know what you're doing. Awesome. And Sheridan, one last question for you. Is there a biblical story or a piece of scripture that you draw inspiration from that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, one of my favorite stories is Noah's Ark, just because he kept building his ark even though everyone was saying, "What are you doing?" Like they were just raining down on him and telling him not to do this, but he knew that it was going to rain. He heard God, and he did it anyway. He just went through with it even though everyone else was saying no. And he just showed them all that they were wrong and he was right. He just listened to God.
I think that's a great lesson that sometimes we all just need to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Amanda, do you have any other questions for Sheridan this morning?
I don't think so. It was great talking with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sweet. Well, thanks for being on, Sheridan. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you have a great day at school today and stay safe. And I don't know if it's cold over in Great Falls. It feels cold here, so stay warm. And yeah.
Thank you, and best of luck with your soccer season.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Mountain Sky Prophets. Mountain Sky Prophets is brought to you by Young People's Ministries and Next Gen and Inclusiveness Ministries of the Mountain Sky Conference of the United Methodist Church. You can find us at www.mtnskyumc.org. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you tell your friends to listen in too.